Our podcast. I am Raquel Maya and I have a question for you, Angeli. What are we going to talk about today?
Hi, everyone. I am Angeli Mogollones, and in response to your question, Raquel, today we will talk about teaching the English language, but we will have a special guest. Could you introduce him, Emilia?
Hi, greetings to all. I'm Emilia. Today with you we have the present of example to following in meeting of teaching, years of experience in teaching. With the temperance, patience, and perseverance, has encouraged many young people to be and give the best of themselves with you, Mr. Perez Narváez Ángel.
Hi, ladies. Thanks by inviting me to this podcast and talk with you. I don't know what is the topic.
Okay, the topic is the question of the docencia of the English. Okay, and in this moment, Raquel, please.
Okay, Mr. Perez, it's a pleasure to have you on this podcast. And I will be a great honor for us to be able to clear up some doubts as teaching students from your point of view as an already established teacher.
Sure, thanks by taking me in this podcast. Go ahead, please.
Okay, what is your students learn English faster?
Well, I'm working with teenagers nowadays. For me, I consider the youngers are always listening music. I have listened them that always they are singing music, but they don't know how they are writing. I consider to practice of the students, the most important tip is listening music by YouTube or another kind of social redes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Why is your learn teaching in the English language? What is the topic that to this day is a bit complicated when you teach it? Does it or not?
I consider the most difficult for all students is grammar, especially the simple present tense. The students don't always forget the rules, especially the auxiliary done, the auxiliary doesn't. For all the students is always difficult. And they don't learn too faster the verbs and all the rules that these are implied. Thank you.
What is the subject of teaching the English language that was most difficult for students to learn?
The most difficult subject, as I said a few minutes ago, I consider the grammar rules, and especially the modal helpers. For all the students, the modal helpers are difficult too. But because they lose by the rules, all the rules for the student are difficult. As you know, in this time, the students learn by the listening and reading. The modern teaching don't teach rules. They learn only by listening and reading, writing, no more. Thank you.
Okay. When you were just learning the language, what was the word that took the longest to pronounce correctly?
I don't remember, but I always remind a coworker when I began to work. I remind a coworker that always love about my beginning of English, teaching English, and always said me forget, and I don't know that word forget. And that word always in my mind, point me, and said, forget. Oh yeah, forget. I read one time, no more. I know forget. I never forget more. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Angeli, please, your questions.
Okay. Mr. Perez, how many times do you consider that is necessary for a student to practice the English language if the student wish to teach class in this language in the future?
The practice is always in every moment, but you know the students don't have the all the tools, because for example the students that don't have cell phones, a student don't have the technology. Yeah, that is difficult for all the students in all ages. And you know, we have the public schools don't have the technology too, and the families don't have the economy to buy cell phones with technology. If you have a cell phone, they don't have the money to pay by the plans. Thank you.
Okay. You as an English language teacher who recommends you as a future teacher, what activities can we carry out in the classroom when we are teaching a topic related to this language in the order to attract the attention of the student and so that they can interaction with one?
Well, the most important for teachers is to plan. I always plan the class, make activities that the student led, practice reading, writing, that the students think that you know that there are different methods to students interactive. For example, you always, when you bring to class, you have to greet. If you take a little more time, you have to walk at the middle of the half of the classroom, go ahead, then turn around the classroom, be be patient with the student. Yeah, that is the most important for all the students. As they love the students, that's more important.
Okay. Do you think it is important teach English from the first year of elementary school?
Yes, I consider it's the most important. I remind when I began to work, I worked as elementary teacher English. I began with the practice and I remind the university sent me to practice. I choose a school. The most of my classmates choose the school of high level, but I select a school of lower level, public school. Um, and I began to teach as a practicing. I began to teach students of fourth grade, fifth grade, and sixth grade. That was my first experience. It was nice, and I began to work my co-workers too, and that work served me to practice. And the principal of that school called me to work the next year. That was many years ago. No more. Thank you.
Okay. How many years have you been practicing this profession?
Well, for me it's special because when I am 60 years old nowadays, but when I was 10 years, I began to work as public schools by 10 years. Later, I, I, I go to another business because the teaching, I can support my house. I went to another business. Recently, 10 years ago, I came back to work as an English teacher. 13 years ago, I came back because I have to remind, I have to practice, I have to study at the Copay Institute. I don't know if you have listened about it.
Sorry.
I am here.
Copay Institute is in Guayaquil. You?
Yes, I went there to practice and learn a little more. By 2 years, no more. Thank you.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you. Raquel Marin, please your question.
Okay, Mr. Perez,
Yes.
and the first question is, do you think that communication in English in the classroom is important? Will improve the teaching of the English language?
Yes, it's the most important. And nowadays, actually, the suggestions is that all the class would be in English. All the practice, when you bring to school, greet in English, talk in English, smile in English, walk in English, all. Neither word in Spanish. This is the suggestion of the ministry, suggestion for you, for the class.
Okay, thank you. The second question is, do you think that the students improve his level and learning through more?
Yes. Watch films, movies is interesting. Listen to music too for
Mhm,
students for each of one.
mhm.
Uh,
But it's difficult or no?
yeah, difficult. It's difficult. For example, for me, it's very difficult because I have my age. I don't have good listening. Um, if, for example, a movie, I can watch the subtitles or listen well. That's
Yes,
difficult for me.
yes, teacher.
But
In my
for
in
students, is the advice, the recommendation. Watch movies or listening to music.
okay.
Okay, yeah. And the, the next, do you think it's necessary to teach English in a compulsory way to learn this language is our country?
Mandatory. Mm, I don't consider the English language would be mandatory. I consider volunteer because mandatory. It's a little problem with the families. If actually 3 hours in a week is a problem for families and the students. Mm, I consider it's volunteering better, much better.
Okay, Mr. Perez. And the final question is how was your first day of teaching? How did you feel?
I feel very good because I
Mm,
began, it's another experience
mm,
uh, to teach. Well, I began to teach um, boys of 10, 11 or 12 years, more or less.
mm.
I began a school. And for me, it was a little experience because I began to teach with songs, flashcards, and that kind of method. But it is nice. For me, very good.
Okay, Mr.
Hi, teacher Perez. In this moment, uh, I think in my person, the English is for me difficult in the writing. I I I have a question, okay? What level of English did you obtain?
Well, I have B1, but I have B2 for speaking and listening. I don't have good writing because when you give a test, you have to learn how to write a letter, for example, and a letter has steps. The first idea, the second idea, and the conclusion. And this is a little trouble, yeah, but that is the part that you have to learn how to write a letter, for example, the heading, the first paragraph, the second paragraph, and the conclusion. That's the most important to learn how to write or writing, because It's like you write a letter in Spanish. You think when you write a letter in Spanish, it's the same. You have to think in English to write the same letter. That's the best thing that you have to learn how to write.
Okay. Okay. The next question, teacher. What motivated you not only to educate but to encourage the student not to leave their studies?
Well, when I was teenager, I have adopt because well, I always want to be a teacher, but I love chemistry and English. To architecture. That was my subject, my favorite subjects.
Okay.
But of course that when you know that when you are a teenager, you don't have sure what you want to be. My parents sent me to study a technical institute, but I don't know. I don't want to learn about technique, but I finished my bachelor with a title of technical, but I don't know nothing about that. And I went to the university to study engineering, but no, I can't. Then I changed the career. I looked for architecture, but the trouble with my title bachelor was technical, and to bring to architecture that title I couldn't bring that title. It's prohibited. Only art or math to bring to architecture. Well, the last option that I want was English.
The math is very difficult.
I went, yes. I'm good for math, but I don't love the equations. I don't know how to say ecuaciones. Yeah. I look for university here, and at that time, Extensión Universitaria here, the UNEMI. I came here to this university, English, but and I always was my favorite subject, English, no more.
Wow. Wow, teacher, is very interesting. Wow. The next question. Do you think it's necessary, sorry. When you have made home visit to your students, what are the causes?
Well, I teach actually to teenagers. I work as a third bachelor, third courses. I have made visits to my students, homes and hospitarian visits. I have a special remind about one student. that that boy had cancer, and I have to go to Guayaquil. I have to make the visits at the hospital, at the childhood hospital in Guayaquil. For me, was is a hard experience because that boy died. I was the tutor and the teacher. That's was difficult. Now I have made home visits because the students, by the absence of the students don't go to school no more.
Right now, we are looking at this trajectory, and let me tell you that is a great job.
Thanks.
And the final question, teacher, do you remember the most funny, brief anecdote in any of your class?
Well, anecdote. Well, I don't know. For example, that picture,
Okay.
and my one of my birthdays, that pictures were the pandemic. Before the pandemic, the 2019, that those students are at third bachelor. I was the tutor of those students. I think I all remind them, I all remember my students. I consider that was the best thing of students. They always greet me by Facebook or by WhatsApp or on the streets. Always those guys. Now they are students or workers, but they always greet on the street. And in this day, I was working in 5 courses. The students in every course they bought a cake.
Wow.
In every course, that
The,
was the most famous teacher in this day.
in this picture, the love of the student is not notable. Notable.
Remind the last name of the girl is Acosta.
Okay.
Miss Acosta. She is mother nowadays. Actually, she is mother of one baby, a boy. And I can watch. I can see those boys. And
Yeah.
this is recently, yeah, the last year. That guy, the last picture, that boy was studying at the pandemic. You know that the classes were online, but this boy was studying in Guayaquil chef.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, he was studying both at the school in the pandemic. You know, the classes were online, but he was traveling to Guayaquil to learn about chef. I don't remember the name. young, but he's intelligent, and he don't lose he don't lose the time, because you know 2 titles, bachelor and chef.
Wow, it's interesting. Teacher, thank you very much for your collaboration in this podcast. Lawyer Perez, was a great honor for you to interaction with some with such a long history. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very much, Mr.
for
Perez.
your
Mr. Perez.
invitation. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye, coworkers.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thank